One of the hardest things I think in life is forgiving yourself when there's something that you've done. I think we let it define us. We let it control our thoughts and make it be the center of attention. And it really brings us down, right? So, do you find it hard to forgive yourself after you've made a mistake or for past mistakes? I think it's important to remember that we are all human and that we all make mistakes. You're not alone. Nobody is alone when it comes to making mistakes. We've all done it. Everyone will do it in the future. There's always going to be that capacity of being, oh, that was a mistake. Recently, I was doing some stuff at work and I had done something that was a big mistake. Like I did something that was a no-no, and it was the first time that I can remember that my boss has said like, "Hey, don't do it that way." And I'm like, it was embarrassing. It was something that I was very shook by. Like I made a mistake that could have caused a billing issue. It was fixed. It was fixable, but it's still the fact that they had to take time out of their day to tell me how to fix my mistake, and it just was not the best situation. So, am I still dwelling on it? No, actually, I'm not. I don't care. I can sound serious in a heartbeat because in the moment it was very serious. I was very wrapped up in that thought process of, wow, how did that happen? But today, I'm like, you know what? I am sure she made that same mistake long ago when she was, first at this or just doing this or, when she had a client like that or whatever. She's probably made a mistake in her life too. And she probably forgave herself and moved on because that's the healthy thing to do. Forgiving yourself is not about forgetting what happened. Not at all. The goal is not to forgive and say, oh, I forgot what happened. But yet, the goal is to accept what happened and learn from it, create a change from it. Don't forget what happened, learn from it, grow from it, let it teach you, right? It's something that is a learning experience. It's something that can help you grow as a person. It is an act of something done wrong that can, in the future, be beneficial. So we don't want to just forget it. It's not really working through it when you're just like, nah, whatever. Because 10 to 1, the next time the same situation happens, you're going to do it again. And if the same reaction is done, then it's a recycling process that's just not healthy, right? Forgiving yourself is a journey. It's a journey of self acceptance. It's a journey of learning to let go of guilt that you feel or shame that you feel. It's a way to grow from that moment. I know that there's different level of mistakes, but all mistakes are essentially the same. Every the mistake is a mistake. It's what's happened, right? And one of the things that I always tell people is that you can't change yesterday. You can't change what happened. You can't change that situation. You can't go back and erase that. That's not possible. But what you can do is say, I learned and I'm moving on. I did that and I'm moving on. I did that and I'm letting go of the guilt. I did that and I'm letting go of the shame. I did that and I'm moving past that. You don't want to stay there stuck in that mistake. You don't want to stay there and just dwell in it because all that does is bring you down. It makes you feel heavy. It can create depression and sadness, and it can give you anxiety because you're worried about making the mistake again. So there's an act of forgiveness and forgiving yourself so that we can live a healthier, peaceful life, right? There's the purpose of forgiving yourself is so that you can grow. You have to tell yourself that you're worthy of forgiveness sometimes and for self-love for giving yourself. One of my favorite things to tell people is give yourself grace. Have I messed up as a therapist before? I am sure I have. I am sure I have. I know that I have at some point probably done something wrong or said something the wrong way. But when they have told me about it or when they've confronted me about it, all I can do is say, I'm sorry, thank you, and move on, right? I can feel guilty because I do. I normally feel guilty for a minute, but I process that guilt. I'm like, okay, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. Right. And so that I'm able to process it and then move on. And from there, I can tell you that I don't think I've done anything like the previous thing that would cause a problem. I've learned from it. I've learned how to get through that situation. I've learned how to avoid that situation. So when something comes up and that circumstance arises, then I don't have to worry about that because I've grown. I allowed myself to grow from that mistake. You know, and you've got to take that time to reflect on what you did. You have to reflect on what happened. You have to acknowledge that it happened and say that happened. But in the same time, you have to say, I want to grow from this. I want to learn from this. I want to make this be a changing moment. And when that happens, it allows you the ability to move on past that. To move past that. In my current clientele case, I have people, not current, in my clientele cases, I have talked to people that have, did for anything from I cheated on a test to I cheated on my wife. Both scenarios, both required people to forgive themselves for what their actions were. And some of them take longer to, get to the acknowledgement of what happened. Some of them get longer to the past to get past that feeling of guilt and shame. Some situations are harder. Some situations might require talking to people or a therapist or, doing something more for yourself to get to that forgiveness level. But at the end of the day, the goal is to be able to say, I forgive myself for what I've done. A lot of times people look at me and they're like, you've probably never done anything wrong in your life. Wrong. Wrong. I've done a lot of things wrong in my life. I've made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I've made mistakes recently. I make mistakes in my relationship with William, with my relationship with my kid. I make mistakes with my relationship with my mom, my coworkers. I make mistakes. I'm not a perfect being. The difference from me and other therapists is that most of the time we've talked about ways to regulate and change patterns and to do things that we might not dwell as long on a situation. We might not let ourselves feel the guilt as long as somebody that's not a therapist, but we do make the mistake. We just have this backpack full of tools that makes the situation a little easier. Not saying it's easy. It's easier. I might beat myself up for 2 days versus 10 days that somebody else might. And that's okay. At the end of the day, I have to forgive myself and say, I am worthy of loving myself. I am worthy of saying it's okay, giving myself grace. And I'm worthy of just going to the next day and not carrying that pain and that guilt and that shame with me. I'm worthy not to have to carry that around with me because I have this other backpack full of all the other tools. But it is a process. Learning to forgive yourself is a process. It's a journey of self-acceptance of our failures or mistakes. It's a journey to grow. And if we can just learn to take that in stride and to enjoy the process, it literally will help you grow tremendously. It will move you in ways that you're not even aware of. If I cheat on my diet and I forgive myself, I don't hold myself back from continuing to lose more weight. But if I go to that moment of not forgiving to forgive myself because I cheated on my diet, and then I'm like, well, I'm not worthy of anything anyways. And then the next day or next meal I cheat again, and then I get sad and then I get depressed and I get stuck in that rut. It doesn't help me achieve the goal of losing weight. It doesn't help me achieve the growth that I wanted to achieve. But if I acknowledge it and say, you know what? I cheated. I ate what I shouldn't eat, and that's how it is. And this is what I'm going to do from this day forward. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try every day to do better. That helps self-motivate myself. So by no means am I saying it is easy. By no means am I saying that you won't struggle with self-acceptance and forgiveness and forgiving yourself for making mistakes. It's a struggle, but the benefit is worth it. The benefit of feeling free of the guilt and shame or the worry and fear. The benefit of not feeling so heavy on yourself is worth it. And there's people that have done really, really bad things in life. They still deserve the same forgiveness for themselves, if that makes sense. So no matter little or small, if you're making a mistake and you're trying to forgive yourself and move past it, listen to this again and tell yourself that you're worth it. It's okay. You don't have to carry the guilt. You don't have to carry the shame, and you move forward. Feel the growth. Okay? That's what I have for today. I want to thank you guys so much for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and have a beautiful day. Bye, guys.